Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar hosted by Stora Enso. This is part of our Packaging Forward webinar series. Today we will focus on design, and more in detail we will focus on design that delivers, how to balance packaging functionality, sustainability and brand voice all at the same time. We will focus today on four detailed questions around this topic. If we go to the next slide and see what's to come. So we will discuss how design choices shape sustainability and actually provide real-world performance. We will also discuss how design supports cost efficiency, sustainability and storytelling at the same time. We will also look into brand and brand owners' requirements and retailers' requirements. What are they asking from design just today? And then, of course, we will go to the evergreen topic about how packaging can communicate brand value in these days. On the agenda today, we have these discussions. We have a little bit like an opening presentation by one of our guests, who you can see here. So we have Sylvia Vitale Rotta, who is the president of the EPDA association that goes for European Brand and Packaging Design Association. And she's also the CEO and founder of Team Creatif Group. And then we have Paula Carceles from Stora Enso's side, head of our design team, senior project manager. And then we have Mariukka Kujanpää from our sustainability team. All of us are panelists, and actually Sylvia will begin with the opening presentation. I am Mandi Alatara, moderating and hosting the session today, and also then taking your live questions as we get there. So we have some pre-sent questions, and then we also can get questions from the audience while we discuss. So you're welcome to send your questions in. Once again, welcome to this webinar, and I think we are ready now to go into the topic itself. And Sylvia, I hand it over to you to explain a little bit more about your background and your view on design through your eyes and your agency's experience. You're muted. Can you please open the mic, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Mandy. And as the president of the European Brand and Packaging Design Association, I'm very happy to meet you all, even if it's just virtually. So I am Sylvia Vitale Rotta. I founded Team Creatif, and believe it or not, the branding and packaging world has kept our agency a family business for 40 years. I'm a trained designer, I'm a creative person, but obviously also, by a matter of course, become a business leader and commercial strong to convince our clients to try and do the best they can for their brands. Next slide. So this was our event in Valencia in 2025. As you can see, over 60 design agencies came together in this great town, beautiful sunshine, and we all shared and dared view some of our thoughts and feelings about the packaging world. Go ahead. So our motto is to connect, empower and celebrate European brand design, knowing that obviously we don't just have European agencies as members, we also have some members from Japan, Taiwan and the US. And our previous event was in Hamburg, the rhythm of the flow, and how as agencies, the way we survive is always being above or before the trends, before the needs, so that we can actually help educate our clients, especially the younger generations of marketing people that come and sometimes want to do things on the brands that we need to be very careful with for their own recognizability with the consumer. So the next event will be in Porto this autumn, great, then Helsinki in spring, where we will always still be with Stora Enso, and then autumn again 2026 in Athens. And each event obviously has a very important theme to try and promote sustainability, the power of branding and packaging, and the way it brings value to our brands and to our consumers. Thanks to our industry partners, Quartz, Stora Enso, UPM, and Uber Group with the print solutions, They are all extremely important members and industry partners to help as well bring technology always before the actual trends become fashionable or needed in the industry, so that as design agencies, when we work closely with our industry partners, we can actually achieve and innovate for the brands and the clients. Very important, we believe design plays a key role in conscious consumption. As designers, we connect consumers to their brands and to their environment, and above all, to their everyday lives. Today, consumers will never actually buy a product unless they feel that there's something in there that is valuable for them. So here are some iconic brands that we've done over the years. Danone, The Laughing Cow, Volvic, very good example of how packaging saved thousands of tons of PET by giving a reinforced middle waist to the Volvic bottle that also represented the volcano and made the bottle even stronger and more stackable. Vegetable, tin cans, Tic Tac, Lipton, of course, biggest tea brand in the world, and the Ferrero Group with Kinder and Tic Tac as well. Go ahead. So better eating has now become a huge concern. 64% of European consumers indicate that over the 12 past months, they are interested in how they can improve their eating habits. Usually, packaging has got information that is not necessarily digestible by the consumer. They don't really understand everything that sometimes marketeers want to put on their packs. We really need to work at making the packs intuitive, so that intuitively they feel that there is a benefit in buying the product because it's actually helping them to eat better or to consume better. Here are some examples of how Björk went from the packaging on the left to the new packaging on the right. You can see it at the top of the page, how they became easier to follow, more clear in what they were saying, and how the pack itself was communicating to the consumer things that were important for them, like spill out the good and what the ingredients inside actually had. Packaging is one of the only medias on top of the product that you buy with the product that you're going to eat. Same as at the bottom, putting all the wheat comes from France, a very important indication. Harry & Co is a plant-based product. Plant-based has got a lot of different anxiety about it, and Harry & Co as well, plant-based. And the products are really made to ensure the packaging is the only media where they actually are reassured about the ingredients and what's inside the pack, and the way, hopefully, the packaging itself is recyclable. Here, very big, important move, Act for Food, which means we all have the right to the best at the best price. This is a very big worldwide distributor, and even distributor brands that used to do private labels are now becoming branded. The reason for this is that consumers, because of inflation, because of convenience, are turning towards the retail brands who, in a way, seem quicker to innovate on things like better eating and on sustainability and on eco-design. You can see the healthy wheel that we created with all the pictograms where they can be applied worldwide. Some consumers may read or not read, but they see something and that attracts their eye to what may be the composition of the product inside. Everything was then branded through the blue. Very important, dealing with inflation. We sometimes forget that students, older people, young adults, they cannot buy packs that are fit for a family. So as industry, whether we are industry partners in the support, cardboard, or whether we're the brands themselves, we really have to think that there are a lot of consumers today that cannot carry on shopping or buying products at the same dosage, at the same weight as what they used to before. They're looking for fresher products, therefore smaller quantities, and so that you can re-shut the pack. Easy to open, but also easy to shut if you only use half of it. So how can the industry and the design agencies work better at giving consumers what they need? Again, here the iconic bottle and how the savings of thousands of tons of PET helped Danone to then highly invest in other formats. You can see how the bottle was then adapted to the different sizes and obviously to the 10-gallon size. And also how there is a clever way, while you are still staying legally correct, in putting information on the packaging, whether it's on the portion size, whether it's on the ingredient size, and above all, never cheat with, let's say, USPs, promises that are not quite transparent or quite understandable. As design agencies, we need to make our clients and their brands as transparent, as visually easy to understand as possible. And again, the big fight of fighting food waste. Again, in many countries, people go really hungry. And the truth is that if we avoided food waste in all the countries, we would probably be able to feed all the others. So food waste is about 131 kilos per person in Europe. If the packaging and the sizing and the date before was less an issue, better explained that you can still buy a product and eat it even 2 weeks later, it would really help avoid some food waste that we know today. And here a very good example of the Laughing Cow, who actually took the responsibility to say, you can eat me even 2 weeks after the date has run out, and I'm still good for consumption. And the Stand Green tool, how as designers we can encourage our brands to print less layers of ink by economizing the amount of ink one puts on a pack. It actually improves its recyclability, especially when it's on a flow wrap. Obviously, we're not talking about doing white packaging because a brand still needs to be able to have the impact on the shelf, the brand recognizability, the variety navigation. However, we can avoid using too much ink by using colors or areas that are left with less layers of ink. And I think that's it. So if there's any questions, I think Mandy will pass them on to us. And thank you all for listening. And if anybody wants any more details, obviously available to do so.
Thank you, Sylvia. That was very interesting. And I think it's impressive how you have actually aligned your guidelines or guiding principles to sustainability and will be able to have really meaningful discussions with your customers, the brands who actually pack and put things in the retail shelf. So that's impressive. And also it shows the matter of detail that is ongoing in the environment. So many things to think of, like so many perspectives to take and exactly where to save and where to kind of go big and all those questions. Very interesting. And I think we're ready now to launch into the panel discussion with the first question. And of course, everyone on our side, keep your mics open and cameras as well. And let's start, Paula, with you from the design point of view. How do you connect emerging market trends, like, for example, this sustainability trend that we have had for a while, with concrete packaging design opportunities when we discuss packaging for brands?
Well, I would say that when we talk about emerging trends like sustainability, the role of designers and packaging developers like our team is to make them practical and concrete for brands. And in Stora Enso, how we do this is always by first looking at the bigger picture. So exploring what consumers are expecting, how regulations are changing, where the market is moving in the specific region and in the specific end use. And once we collect all of that input, then we can translate that into specific design opportunities, whether it's about reducing the empty space or maybe also enhancing the shelf impact, and of course also including the material switching. But for us also the key to success, it all starts with a good briefing with our customers at the beginning, sitting down with them and discussing what are the demands and the wishes they have, and also exploring whether they are looking for a more bold and disruptive solution, or perhaps it's the other way around and they want something that is more proven in the market. And once we have all of these identified, then the design is framed and it's very easy to connect the trend to the business strategy or the business goals that they have.
Thank you, Paula. And if we continue a little bit on the sustainability and early stages of sustainable or early choices in packaging design, maybe starting with you, Marjukka, here on sustainability. So what do you think is the best way to convince the customers about the benefits of sustainability so that it's not only compliance or regulation directed, but really can be part of the brand story? So what do you think is the best way to get to that thinking?
Yes, thanks, Mandy. And I would actually build on what Paula said, that it's really about kind of understanding the external world, basically. So what is the need where we are actually kind of designing the packaging for, and in what kind of reality we kind of want to have the packaging, for example, in this case, serving its purpose. And then it's really kind of starting from that, so understanding the external world and then clarifying that in the storytelling, basically. So having a good, in a way, fact-based story for the packaging and having proof, of course, for that. So really it's about carbon footprint or recyclability or the real sustainability credentials that we have, and then we can start from that. So I would say that it's really kind of understanding the bigger picture and then bringing the packaging into that, and then having really fact-based information to show that, hey, this actually makes sense or has the value in this. So I would start from that.
Thank you. And Paula, would you like to build on that from your experience?
Maybe I know what Marjukka just said. I think it also requires a mind shift from this cost of compliance that sometimes customers see to the value creation opportunity that comes with it. The right material is not only sustainable. You can also get a material that is signaling luxury or purity or innovation. And if you think about it, this is packaging is the piece of a company that consumers are going to literally hold in their hands. So it's quite physical. And that's why also coming back to this, how we are kicking off things with our customers, we always aim at making this tangible from the beginning. We never go empty-handed with our meetings with customers. We always aim for having something to touch and discuss from early on. So customers can see, can explore the different textures, the different materials, and then it becomes easier to discuss this brief. And always aiming at co-creating, acknowledging that our customers know their customers best. They know consumers better than anyone. And we are bringing in our material expertise and our packaging know-how. So with, adding these two streams is how I think you can move from, it stops being a technical or a legal requirement, and it can become, or we can make it so that it becomes an emotional choice for consumers.
Thank you, Marjukka and Paula. And then turning to Sylvia, a bit on the same topic, and of course we're interested on the materials choices. So how do you think, from the brand perspective, in your experience, what role do the materials and the material choice have in communicating the brand values, and and also very interesting is that how well do you think designers in general are aware of the different capabilities of different materials and also their sustainability footprint and kind of all the continuum of things that's available and could be used in the design?
A very complex question. Yes, of course. Designers are aware of materials. However, maybe we need to be more aware of what materials or what the client can put on his machines or is compatible with his technology, with his product, and with the costing. Today, designers have got a real power to help clients and brands improve the use of materials. But often we come against this pushback from the technical side or for the costing side of the factories and what they can actually do or not do. And so there is a need for material expert industry to make more occasions with the marketing teams and the R&D teams in the factories, in the clients, in the brands, and the design agency. There is a need to bring more together these three key players and be able to look forward, because often when design agencies get a brief to do a big redo of a whole range of products, the timings are very, very tight. So yes, you can suggest other touches, other prints, other inks, other materials, other elements. But usually you come up against a timing factor because there's not been time for the prototypes, for the trials. So that's one of the major things. However, for the consumer, the touch, the feel, the quality of the material, the support is fundamental, even for very everyday essential products.
Thank you, Sylvia. And basically what you're saying is that this discussion should take place all the time, so we would be more prepared when a project then comes by and everyone would know who to turn to and really share the insights and have tested materials available. Makes totally sense. Paula, if you build on that, how do you then, from our side on being in the carton board and paper-based materials, how do you actually demonstrate this tactile, the great feel and touch that fibers, for example, have? How do you demonstrate that in the design phase?
That's a very good question, and I would say the majority, if not all of the customers we talk to today, they already understand that carton board adds a value. And with the right structural design and the right artwork on top, we know that fiber-based materials will elevate a product because it simply feels more premium if it was packed in plastic, for instance. But where we can help is in making those tactile and visual signals more intentional, because fiber-based materials, I think they can communicate in a very subtle yet powerful way. If you think of the smoothness or the roughness of a material, even how white the material is, this is already influencing how consumers are perceiving or how they are interpreting a brand. For example, if we think of a high brightness, very shiny board, also coated, that normally comes with the signal of precision and luxury, while a more natural, uncoated, even craft surface usually conveys other things like more authenticity and responsibility of the brand. And I would say even the sound and the feel when you open a pack is already giving you an impression of the quality of the packed product. And this is what we do with brand owners. So we always bring these aspects to life. We let our customer touch and feel, and with our extensive or our wide portfolio of materials, we also need to explain them the different finishing effects they can get, when it comes to embossing or printing qualities, the differences within our own portfolio. And I would say that that's because brand owners already know all of this. We just need to translate the technical requirements or the technical properties of the material. We connect that back to the emotional story they want to tell. And that's how, at the end of the day, we have a packaging that consumers are seeing, feeling, touching, and even hearing, that works in harmony with the brand identity that the company has.
Thank you. And actually you mentioned here, and Sylvia also, you mentioned the functionality, and I think that we spoke about functionality, we spoke about the look and feel and the kind of emotional connection, but we also spoke about sustainability. So Marjukka, do you have an example where sustainability driven changes in some kind of a packaging that's already on the market have actually also improved the performance? Because we promised to talk about design that delivers. So how would you say, is there an example?
Well, I would maybe first start with performance, in a way that what is performance? And in my opinion, we need to look that also holistically. So not only the technical performance and the actual like in its primer use, and of course that is super important, and that's of course the starting point always. But then I would also like to add kind of another type of performances into the picture. So really kind of the performance at the end of life, or performance like the cost efficiency and all these kind of performance in logistics. It is also part of performance. And I think many sustainability improvements are then also delivering against that performance. And for example, if we talk about better recyclability, changing packaging design in a way that it's recyclable, or kind of has better access to recycling streams, etc. I think that's also performance. But then, of course, if we talk about now the kind of the traditional performance in a way in its kind of intended use, then I think Sylvia's example of the water bottle was a very good example of how we can combine material efficiency with actual cost savings as well, and then also kind of improve performance in stackability, for example. And then maybe from Stora Enso's side, I could, for example, mention Fiberlight Tech, our own technology that we use in some of our paperboards, that makes paperboard more durable and strong. And then, of course, with that, we can also reduce material consumption. And so it delivers both needs, both sustainability, but then also then the actual performance and functionality.
So basically, Marjukka, you are saying that all this should be discussed already in the goal setting of a new packaging design project, that sustainability should be set as one of the goal areas and therefore be holistically considered. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. If we stay a little bit on the topic of commercial gains and commercial sort of wins, how can packaging design decisions translate into these advantages, and you know, what could it be? Is it more sales? Is it more visibility in the shelf? Is it better speed to market? What are the things, to your experience, Sylvia, that you've seen happen thanks to good design decisions?
Well, one of the best examples, as you just said, is the Volvic bottle. The Volvic bottle, the reason why it was created was to help older people who, during the very, very hot season in August, a lot of older people died because they just could not lift their water bottle or open it. That's how dramatic it was. So it came from a real need to find a middle of a bottle that was easy to hold and to pour, and a top that didn't slip and could be easily opened. It started as a very precise project, and then thanks to that, it became a mega big project on all the formats of Danone. So again, when time is taken to think about the consumer need to think about the opening, the shutting, the convenience, the life, as you said, logistics, everything. Usually designers have a huge capability with the supports and the industry, Stora Enso and all the other different manufacturers, to bring real sustainable solutions to the planet. The problem is when people just think that the consumer is going to believe that something is recyclable or something is easy to open or shut, when in fact at the usage it does not do that. And I think this is where we need to be very careful about really communicating the difference of what it was before. The other thing is the shelf impact. Sometimes we think big packaging can be seen better on the shelf, of course, but they also take up a lot of room in your shopping basket, in your cupboard at home, in your bin when you have to get rid of it. So the best thing is always the truth of what the product is holding and what it's going to sell. Never overdo packaging. And a lot of cosmetic products are suffering from that. You know, high head space, empty head space, biscuit package where you have a lot of open space. And once you've taken some biscuits out, there's a big empty box in the cupboard. You rip it apart, and that's not good messages to give to the consumer.
So basically also when a new design project is done and delivered and all the way to the retail shelves, it may not be ready as such. Sometimes some improvements might be needed as well, based on then the consumer feedback and learnings as well. Obviously, it's sometimes that can happen as well. Paula, would you like to build on that same topic a bit from your experience?
Yeah, and listening to Sylvia, I think the example she has given is a perfect one. But also thinking on something we can show from our end in Stora Enso, I can also think of a concrete example. We cannot reveal the brand, but I can tell you this was in the dry food segment where we supported a brand that they wanted to redesign their multi-pack formats. They had a multi-pack and then they wanted to reconsider the design. And with the new design that in our team we were able to come up with, we were able to get rid of this tray that goes on the supermarkets on the shelves, that where all of the products are placed, this SRP or this shelf-ready packaging, just because the new design allowed for shelf-standing, so the products could stand without the need of this tray. With that change, we were not only saving material, not that was no longer needed, but also simplifying operations, if you think on the filling or the packing lines. And on top of that, when we then were looking into the footprint, because it had a new configuration for this multi-pack, when thinking on the logistics and on the pallet, building the configuration of the pallet, we were able to put more units of this product on a single pallet, which eventually is also translated into savings in logistics. And on top of that, we were also mindful of the needs for the brand to communicate and to boost sales. We also managed to have a design that was standing out versus competitors, so that, you know, consumers were able to notice and to see quicker maybe than other products. And all of this, we achieved all of this without having to compromise the weight of the product or going any heavier than in the previous solution. So I think this is a good example of how, with a smart design, you can combine both the efficiency, but then also the boosting the brand presence on the shelves.
Thank you. And if we then for a minute go a little bit more to regulation and changing regulation on putting things to market, and maybe now primarily talking about Europe, how do you, Marika, from your experience, how do our company help our customers and customers to future-proof the packaging so that it would not be only for the year or 12 months or so, but rather a little bit longer horizon strategy for product packaging? What would you say there?
Yeah, I think it's important that we have like a different time perspective here that we consider, and that's what we do in a way, that we try to understand the current, what's happening now, then what's happening in the near future. We know a lot from the regulatory frameworks, for example, and for example, EPWR, packaging and packaging waste regulation. I guess nobody in packaging industry has survived the past years without getting familiar with the regulation. But then also long term, in a way that what do we see like as kind of where the world is going, and for example with materials, how is the kind of the availability of resources or resource scarcity, etc. So starting from that, and then really building the understanding, and then of course our focus is also in the current and the near future. So in a way, what's happening in the European regulatory environment? What are the requirements, for example, from the PPWR? How are we prepared? We've been preparing already for years. We've known that there will be changes, and we've been following it closely. And then from that, we have also built quite extensive know-how internally, like what will be then the requirements for packaging, for example. And this know-how then we can translate to customer cases as well. And for example, together with Paola's team and other teams in Stora Enso, so we can work together to help customers also with these matters, because this is complex, like, and it's also very dynamic. So a lot is happening all the time, and it's not self-evident that if you knew something half a year ago, that might have changed already. So we need to be also very kind of actively following what's happening.
For sure.
Thanks, Marjukka, for summarizing that quite well. But Sylvia, from your experience now, when you work with your customers in the design project, how far ahead are you looking, and how far ahead are your customers looking with their designs? What's your experience?
Well, they all know about the regulations coming, and they all think about applying them. It can apply to the cardboard, to sustainability. It can also apply to the amount of sugar or the amount of fat in a product. However, sometimes the one waits too long for the law to actually happen. And when the law has actually happened, and then they need to maybe pay a fine for not having reacted before, then all of a sudden it becomes a huge race to catch up the lost time. So as agencies, and I'm sure as Stora Enso, if we had a little bit more forward thinking within the brands themselves, there might be a better mastering of the regulations before they actually come and ruin a brand that maybe has to change packaging too fast, or without the head time to really think of the best solution. So yeah, for instance, I don't know, I'm sure you know that retail in 2020, in 2030 about, they're going to be responsible of the packaging that they put on the shelf. So it's not even going to be the brands, but the retail themselves are going to be responsible of what goes on the shelves. So you can imagine what that is going to mean to packaging. We should be all thinking about it now, but it's still not really being part of the briefs that one receives. And because the planning is so short to deliver the new design, well, often you just work to the new design and you don't think ahead of time enough. But it's coming. Slowly, it's coming.
Yes, that also is a very, very good summary about where things are today. So thanks, Sylvia. I still stay a little bit on the same topic, and I ask Marjukka, it might be a bit of your opinion as well, but please share your thinking about when it comes to sustainability and perception of sustainability and consumers. So what do you think they understand better as sustainable? The raw material that is natural, somehow plant-based, or is it more like the recycling after use, so that you can actually recycle the packaging after use? So what is today more understood by consumers as a sustainability benefit?
But I think this is a good question, and of course there's no like one right answer. Like you said, that it's more like opinions, and I think it's also individual preferences, and I think it's also like where exactly we are having this kind of for example, if we have a consumer survey, is it global, is it European, is it maybe in Finland or so? So it really depends. It depends on the reality where a consumer is living. And I would say that it's also like there is no right answer in a way, because everything's combined, and we should have like altogether like a kind of a sustainability driven approach to packaging, so that we are not like saying that recyclability is better or renewability is better, because we have to basically get that both working in a way. And I believe that renewability is really important when we are talking about the planetary resources. But then if we think about what consumers believe and think, then I think the recent consumer surveys have shown that it's recyclability is now something that is very tangible and concrete. And of course, we also talk a lot, if you look at the media or read newspapers, etc. I think recyclability is really something concrete. We all are consumers using packaging and thinking every day, okay, which bin should I dispose this of, etc. So it's something really kind of a concrete to consumers as well. So I think current consumer surveys show that recyclability is one of the sustainability credentials or characteristics that is the most important at this moment of time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And it's of course good to maintain the ambition that we need to fix, of course, all aspects, but this is an interesting discussion. Let's change the topic a bit, and Sylvia, we have a question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to brand owners and the customers you work with, how might they get the best out of their design partners? And if you also extend this to material partners, like for example Stora Enso, so what should they do in order to get kind of the best ideas, best delivery, best outcome from the chain that they are working with?
I would say the biggest need is to communicate. Communicate with your design partner what your issues are, what your worries are for the future, so that there is time to do a collaborative work between the R&D, which is often in the factory, in the client, the R&D or the printers who supply the card or print the box or whatever, and the design agency. Often everybody gets a brief to do something, but the time that should be given up front to plan for the future, not just talk about the future, but give time and forums, slots between the agencies, the material people, and the agents and the client and the marketing staff is essential. We're going to have to get into that, and not only have the people who are 100% sustainability, then you have the people that only talk about costs and speed, and then you have the marketing that sometimes talk about the brand and the impact on the shelf and the design, the fact that it's yellow or red or has to keep its logo. And in fact, these three communities have to find moments to talk to each other, to communicate more, to avoid pitches among design agencies, because often you get a pitch and you try and win the pitch rather than actually bring everything that you can to solve the client consumer sustainability needs. Because if you come with too many questions, you might actually lose the pitch, because you are creating too many doubts instead of bringing the solution on the table, and that's what they need. So as bosses of brands, we really need to give time. The marketing needs time to better communicate with the suppliers, let's say, people like you, people like us. What is their worry? What is their need? Which is the big difference from before, where before it was the client, the brand, who knew the best of everything. Today, that knowledge has not only in the brand with the client, it's also within the suppliers like yourselves and agencies.
Yeah, and it all comes, of course, to the proper goal setting discussion. If there is a change on table, like what are we after? What are the basic decision criteria in this project, and what are we after really? Like, Paula, how would you comment that? Because we of course work with packaging manufacturers or the converters a lot, and you see this a little bit from the different perspective. So how would you elaborate on this?
Yes, indeed. And I would say converters, in our case, they play such a critical and central role. They are the natural bridge between material suppliers like us and the brand owner. So if I could highlight something that I think makes always this collaboration stronger and is just aligned with what Sylvia said, is open sharing of information and early involvement of material suppliers, whether it's about sharing with us the brand requirements or a technical challenge. The sooner we are involved in the discussion, the better outcome and the quicker and the less iteration that will be needed. So that's important. We as material suppliers, we know our materials like the back of our hand. So whether it's about caliper choices or selecting the perfect material for the intended end use and the packaging application, we can make that recommendation. And then also on top of that, because we are also involved in many other discussions that with other printing and converting technologies and with other filling processes and other end uses and other regions, we can also collect those learnings. And even if at first one would think these are not applicable to this specific project and this scope, in reality, there are always learning we can collect and also apply in this specific case. So I would say for us, it's key that we can tighten this triangle between converters, brand owners, and material suppliers to ensure success.
Thank you, Paula. And actually, this is part of one of the audience questions that we just received. You partially answered it already, but the question is around how can a material producer actually impact the brand design choices? And you somehow already explained how, but do you, let's continue on this topic for a while. Do you actually believe that this impact will get through? How was your experience? And then also, Sylvia, I would hear from you the same. But Paula, please first.
Yeah, I think again it's down to communication and finding the ways to communicate, because having the actual material and the actual packaging samples, I think is so relevant to have a fruitful and engaging discussion that only by showing you can already explain and convince the other stakeholders on the idea that you have in your mind. Because sometimes only by a PowerPoint or just in a discussion is not so easy or so evident to translate such a complex idea that is still in our minds. So I think always having something tangible to put on the table is key also for success.
So Sylvia, you would agree that when bright people come together?
Yes, and it's already happened a lot. Obviously, big plastic. Because of the plastic issue, one realizes that the efforts to change or find a solution to plastic has been a lot more active than what we could be doing with the clients and going from maybe plastic to cardboard. And there you realize that there is sometimes a misknowledge of everything you could be doing on card, or they suddenly think that it's not recyclable or it's not going to be strong enough to keep the purity or the freshness in or whatever. So for sure, the sharing of knowledge and not just going for the first thing that is the solution is what is needed.
Thank you. Then
and not only for Europe, not only for Europe, but we need to also look at the issue for the continents like Africa or like, let's say, the Middle East and everything, where there is a huge need to get that population to understand recyclability, to get recyclability on the road, and to also get the formats and the supports which they desperately need, because obviously the population is going up and they're starting to buy like in the European countries. So they need the same convenience, they need the same products. And today we work a lot for the United Nations for Africa. And our biggest case is finding packaging that is sustainable and also producible for those countries at the prices that they need and recyclable.
Let's take a little bit of a different angle to that topic. And Marjukka, I have a question for you. Okay, we need to, of course, educate and inform consumers about the recyclability and the material and everything. But how about what's, in your experience, the best way to convey this information to actually the decision makers at retailers and brand owners? And what data or insights or what kind of tools do you have to kind of convince and justify the sustainability topics?
I think that's a good question, and I think it all comes to that like know your stuff in a way, that know kind of how you perform, how your packaging is performing. So and there, for example, I myself come from life cycle assessments, and my background is there. So in a way, understanding the environmental impacts of your packaging, for example, that's fact-based, that's science-based, evidence, basically. Of course, there is always questions and some like free space to move with assumptions, etc. But anyway, it's something that then you have like tangible and concrete information in your hand. And the same goes with recyclability, the same goes with renewability, etc. So basically, when you know how your packaging is performing in terms of sustainability, then you can, and you kind of know the story, then you can be consistent with it. Then you can use this fact-based information with decision makers, with your customers, with consumers. So basically, you don't need to have like separate information streams or information to different purposes. But when you really know your story, then and know kind of the impacts, then it's easy to start using it. And I think I always believe in kind of fact-based and science-based information. So I think when you have that in hand, it has power, and then you can influence then different things.
And I think the industry in general, all of us, we're still a bit learning what are the key data points there to come and agree on. Of course, a lot is available already and discussed, but what are the key ones maybe? Hey, I'd like to end up with a round that everyone comments still on this one, and that's our last question for today, and it's about future. And let's just stay in 5 years time frame, not go further than that. What do you think has happened in 5 years if we have gone to the right direction in packaging choices supported by great design? So how do you see what has moved in 5 years? Sylvia, if we start with you.
What has moved is a better perception of what really is sustainable, what really is economical, sustainable, and cost effective. And this is fundamental because there are so many misunderstood or misinterpreted solutions or information that is going around, that sometimes it is very, very problematic for the client, for the brands, for the marketing people, and for the agencies. So less give us less information, but the information that is given, make sure it's understood so that people can actually do something for the future with this information and not just like blindly try and find solutions which sometimes are not better solutions to the environment. So I would say, again, sharing real information, less of it, but more accurate, more precise.
And be committed, of course, to that then. Yes.
Sure.
Correct. Then Paula, from your point of view, 5 years from now, what has moved and from your perspective?
I 100% agree with Sylvia here. I think consumers are already becoming more and more aware of what sustainable packaging truly means. So I would like to think that this trend will continue on and on. And in parallel to that, we also see that recyclability at scale is improving. So every day, more and more packaging solutions can be recycled. And because I am a dreamer, I would like to think that this will allow us in the future to focus more on how design can improve the consumer experience, because all of these issues will be already addressed. So I think I'm not able to think on the right solution that will be in place in 5 years from now, because nobody can even envision that yet.
Thank you. Direction is clear, though. And then, Marika, over to you also on this 5-year question. What would you see changed in 5 years in your perfect world?
Yes, well, I agree with Sylvia and Paula. And then also then, of course, from the regulatory side, we will have the PPWR requirements in place, or most of them, etc. But then I would also kind of want to just say that maybe in 5 years' time, we have been thinking this kind of a packaging design from that perspective, that maybe less is more in a way. And I don't want to be too specific on this, but if we think about sustainability and sustainability performance, so there are maybe some elements in packaging that we could think from the different perspective and think like, if less is more in a way in some cases. So I believe that would also bring us towards more sustainable packaging solutions.
Thank you all for this wonderful discussion, and it's really good that we also recorded this, because now we have your future visions recorded and can be shared. But hey, thanks for joining. First of all, big thanks for our panelists. So thanks for being with us, and we could have continued this discussion for a longer time. But thanks also for the audience, and we hope that you have enjoyed, and hope you can also take a moment after the call and share feedback and further ideas with us for the future webinars that we will organize in our Packaging Forward series. So thank you for joining, everyone. Thanks for presenting and discussing and sending in the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Paola. Thank you, Marika.